All right, everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to another special guest. Mr. Mike Levine is an online coach based out of Toronto. We know each other through the online trainer mentorship. We've chatted back and forth for months now. It must be close to 6 months almost at this point. We've talked off and on. Yeah. So it's great having you on the podcast, man. I want to dig into you and get to know more of the personal side of things, the fitness side of things versus just the business. But for everyone who doesn't know who you are, man, let them know.
Thanks, John. That was an awesome intro. So Mike Levine, born and raised here in Toronto, and coaching men primarily over the age of 30, kind of lose that extra belly fat and kind of get you back into shape, look great, shirt off. And most importantly, I think it's feel confident and feel good about yourself and who you are in your own skin. And not to say that I don't work with women, but I tend to kind of gravitate and work more with men lately. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Awesome, man. Sounds good. So I love to start off every podcast with getting to know the guest a little bit more, both for myself and just for the audience. So could you tell me kind of like your introduction into the fitness space? Or I know for you, you're heavily into yoga as well. So you can take that and run with it. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So my intro into the fitness world, I actually started in CrossFit. I was in Israel, where, funny enough, my brother now lives in Tel Aviv, and I was kind of introduced to the CrossFit world and kind of fell in love with more so the workouts, the people, the community, and just kind of the drive that certain athletes were really putting in each and every workout. And that kind of stuck with me as I was, I was in finance for over 10 years. That's kind of what I did right out of school. Mostly because that's what all my friends were doing. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. It took me a very long time to get to this point in my career where I am now, running my own business and totally loving it and loving each and every day I wake up and how I can help more people. So I started in CrossFit more so in my training, and then pivoted out of finance into fitness, which is the title of my book that I'm working on writing and plan to publish in the next year or so. Is my story. So I started in fitness, personal training with two boutiques here in Toronto, one being at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, the other at SWAT. I was super fortunate to get a start with both those kind of teams and kind of built my experience there. So getting my reps in-person training, learning how to work with all different types of people, a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, busy parents that don't have the time or didn't think they had the time to get into shape and know how to move properly, and learn how to move and to eat and to kind of build all those habits that go into each and every one of their days that we, I feel like are on constant repeat on our social media game, talking about it. So yeah, I started personal training, and then over the last 2 years, I've now pivoted, more recently pivoted fully online. I did in-person training for 4 years, kind of built some awesome skills, experience working with, again, a wide range and demographic of men and women. And that's kind of how I got to where I am today. So working fully online, I love that I can expand my reach around the world. I recently got my first international client. And it's pretty cool to be coaching clients all over the world and not being limited to just locally. And that's kind of where I'm at today.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I want to dig into quite a few things that you brought up there. The first one being what got you into CrossFit?
I love the competition. I always, I grew up as an athlete, playing hockey, track. I was always, I just loved to compete. I never really excelled to kind of the very elite levels. And I felt like getting into that CrossFit box in Israel is like, they didn't care what your background was. You could just go in there, give it your all and have fun at the same time. And it didn't matter how strong you were or how weak you were. It was just an awesome workout at all different levels, and they were super accommodating no matter where you were at. So, very different than I think what we see here in Toronto is we see a lot of like bodybuilding style people lifting, power lifters. This was just, guys straight out of the army and the military and just crushing their workouts. And like very kind of average looking guys. They weren't super bulky, not the typical bodybuilder look, and they could crush a lot of weight, and they could also run, which I found was an awesome kind of balance. They weren't just one track focused on kind of the barbell, but they could move dynamically very well, as well as lift heavy stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool that they incorporated both aspects and weren't just kind of one track focus.
Yeah, sounds like a well-rounded athlete more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Was the have you been to a CrossFit box in Toronto, and how does the kind of culture differentiate between the two?
Yeah, I came back wanting to find a box, and I started with the Academy Alliance and loved it. They built a great community there, and I think they've recently moved now onto Dundas West. And I kind of maybe grew out of the CrossFit world and just tried to focus more on, I guess, balance. So like, as you may or may not know, I'm a big road cyclist, and I've got a couple of races I'm working on doing this year, this summer. And at the same time, really enjoy the strength. So I kind of felt I didn't need the crazy metabolic conditioning style in the workout. I liked focusing on strength specifically, and then doing my kind of cardio, whether it's on the bike, running, swimming, separately, and kind of splitting up that, if I have the time for it, to train that way. And I felt that kind of felt good for me in my body and kind of what my goals were and are right now. That kind of works. So
that's what I was going to ask too. Like a lot of people, they had a weight loss journey, or they were the skinny kid growing up and they just wanted to pack on size. What was it for you that kind of brought you to gym and fitness and shifting gears in the first place?
Yeah, great question. I was definitely skinny. I found it hard to put on weight. I think I posted that transformation photo a while back this year, like 140, 145, and now almost 160. So it's taken me a while to really pack on some serious muscle and really focus and hone in on strength training specifically, following a program and committing to it for longer than, a month at a time, 3 months at a time. For years, right? It's taken me to get to this point. And a big part of that was kind of understanding, learning where I was at. And we can get into this, but from my brain injury in 2013, that forced me to reset, refocus, and reevaluate where I was strength-wise, mentally, physically, and my overall capacity. So that was kind of the start of my my journey, if you want to call it that.
Would you be open to discussing like what happened in the journey from there?
Absolutely, yeah. That's this is going to be a big part of my story, my book. I've shared this story a little bit here in Toronto for those that know it. So 2013, we were skiing in Whistler, Blackcomb in the backcountry there. My brother at the time was a ski coach, and he was taking me and a couple of close friends out skiing in the backcountry. We had been out there for a week, and the final day, the seventh day, we decided, why not? Let's do some backcountry. Let's do something a little bit off the grid, off the path. And it was our last day, so let's kind of make the most of it. So that last day, we hiked up to the peak, which was almost, I think, 8,000 feet up. So it was high. We were going up the mountain for about an hour and a half, 2 hours with our gear on our back. And the goal was to go down the inside of the bowl. It was called the Corona Bowl, which I imagine still exists today. We ski down the back and then traverse upside the back side of the mountain to eventually ski out. So we made it down, and then we were transitioning to go up the back side of the mountain, and that's kind of where my life flashed before my eyes. And we were climbing up the back side. My buddy Dave was kind of looking down at me, and my brother JD was kind of just behind me, about 20 or 30 feet. And it was literally in a matter of seconds, we were completely wiped out. And it literally took my breath away. I had no idea what to expect. We were caught in an avalanche, and for those who know or may have, unfortunately been caught in it, it's like a tidal wave taking you out, and you're literally, I was buried 4 feet under snow, and it's like you're kind of buried in concrete. So Yeah, that was life changing for me in all aspects. It forced me to leave finance, to reevaluate my life, how I wanted to show up for people on this earth, what I was passionate about. Realize life is super short, and we can take it for granted. Yeah, that was so getting back to the story, I was buried. My brother and Dave found me, pulled me out. I was completely unconscious, non-breathing, black and blue. And they knew to kind of check my airway, and they were about to do CPR. And I eventually somehow came to, and I started gasping for air. And that was kind of the start of taking a deep breath and kind of a whole new life for me at, I guess it was 28 years old in 2013. Yeah, and it was like my life reset. I was ready to go at a very fast pace, and no longer could I. I was forced, no strength training for 2 years, no running. All I could do, and this is where I started my other part of the journey, which you had mentioned, is yoga. So all I could do was focus on my yoga practice, ride a stationary bike, get my heart rate up very gradually, notice the symptoms I was feeling. So anyone dealing with a concussion right now, feel free to ask any questions. I've been through it all. I've tested my body, my limits, my capacity. So I was dealing with anoxic brain damage. So I had no oxygen to the brain for, they were guessing, 4 minutes. Any longer, I wouldn't be here today on this podcast sharing this story with you. And symptoms were extreme fatigue, sensitivity to light, to noise, to big crowds around people. I couldn't sit at a desk at a screen for longer than, maybe 30 minutes without getting severe exhaustion. I was in rehab for 6 months for speech therapy. Speech was very slow. Memory recall and words were very difficult. Short-term memory was lapsing. And I would forget people's names. As crazy as it was, I would meet you, let's say at a yoga studio or on the street, and I would totally blank on your name. And that, I think, was one of the most challenging things. And people think they look at me and it's like, you look like you're fine. But in reality, I had no recall or recollection of who that person was or what their name was. So yeah, that was the start. And that's kind of really what opened my eyes. I lost my breath in 2013, and I regained it with my yoga practice, and kind of learned that's how the mindful method kind of came to be, is learning how to breathe properly. That's a big part of my coaching, is being aware, being mindful when you're eating, when you're strength training, when you're cooking, what you're doing, and with an intention. And I kind of learned that, and it took me the better part of 7 to 8 years to kind of really recover myself, so that I could then and now really heal and help coach others to kind of get to their optimal health and feeling their best. Really is what I'm doing at the end of the day. So
that's amazing, man.
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that. Yeah, what a journey. I mean, it took life altering, because you're the way you're described is you were kind of on the fast track in finance, and just kind of, I picture a hustle and bustle, Wolf of Wall Street type of, kind of, just maybe not to that extreme, but just kind of doing whatever you could when it's staying late, not really focusing on your health. And it took one thing to kind of just change your outlook on life. So you said no strength training for 2 years, just yoga, a little bit of light cardio. How was the introduction back into strength training? What was that like?
Yeah, so what I learned was I could have probably tested the strength training at very minimal amounts, maybe throughout, but doctors, the other challenge to this injury is not a lot of people survive an avalanche. I think it's 1% that actually survive. So they had no idea in terms of protocol, in terms of recovery, in terms of everything I was dealing with. I went into it saying yeah, you'll take 3 months off and you'll kind of slowly ease back into it. 3 months went by, I was still feeling it. 6 months, then a year. And then it was okay, I need to reevaluate the game plan because this isn't working for me. So I really eased back into strength training and focused on I guess just trying to rebuild my foundation in the beginning. So, and that's kind of where I couldn't handle CrossFit anymore.
No.
Pressure to the brain was way too much. So, very small doses of strength training. So, never shooting for like a 5 RM or even a 3 RM or 1 rep max, but just kind of gradually inching along and slowly kind of building up my capacity and noticing if I was feeling headaches, pressure in the brain, which I was getting initially when I was weight training, and cardio for that matter. Even on the bike, if I had my heart rate elevated above, let's say 150, definitely any kind of high impact of hit, I could not do. And that's why I had to just kind of let go of CrossFit altogether and just focus slowly and gradually, and very taught me a lot of patience to tread carefully with strength training and kind of just be in tune with how I felt when I was doing it. So
absolutely. Yeah. So then what was or when was the transition into you wanting to become a coach or personal trainer and like wanting to help others, get in shape and do that sort of thing?
Great question. So I was in finance so I had left and I had got an opportunity to go back. I tried it for about a year and a half and I was like, I called it quits. I was like, I couldn't do it. March 2018, I remember the day I walked out, was the best feeling, the scariest feeling at the same time for those who know pivoted industries. And I just gave it my all. I just, I certified as a personal trainer. It doesn't take a lot, as we all know. You can do it in a weekend, but I just started getting my reps in with the fitness boutique at the Ritz, and with SWAT, and just tried to learn as much as I could each and every time I was on the floor. I had some amazing coaches and mentors starting off in the personal training that really kind of groomed me to who I am today, and I'm forever thankful for that. And just loved it. I loved coaching people to kind of become their best selves, to teaching them how to move properly, to getting incredible results, whether it was strength training, whether it was fat loss, whether it was just kind of building a great routine and a regimen for them to feel better with their family, at work, do the things they always wanted to do. Like taking a client today to buy his first road bike. He was super excited to make this purchase, and he can't wait to go out for a ride with me and start a whole new sport. At almost 40 years old, he's super excited and like a kid in a candy store again. And I think that just really reinforces why I'm doing what I'm doing and how much I love it. Because I love when people light up like that, and finding that kind of magic moment, whether it's that, those little wins we always talk about each and every week, and sharing them with our clients. It's just super, it definitely lights my fire at the end of the day.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, clearly you've had a passion for helping people for quite a while now. And I think that's why I love talking to other coaches on here. It's because we're all in this for generally the same reason. And it shows in content, it shows in when you talk to people, which is great. Because at the end of the day, the fitness industry can be wild, and it can be really hard for the average person who doesn't really know how to navigate it. So, kudos to yourself and coaches like you for being out there and wanting to help people. I want to know what led to the transition from in-person to online, and then how you found it personally speaking.
Yeah, great question. So I found it through the Online Training Academy. I guess that's what it previously was called. I found that through actually another coach that I was considering to hire as a business coach. And he said, why don't you consider this online program? And that was, it definitely really opened my eyes. Online for me was allowing me to work with more people worldwide. And I knew that, the one-on-one is great, and there's definitely no replacement to that, but it's very limiting, as you know, John, being an in-person trainer as well, coming from that. And I can't help as many people at once. And I find, I love the community I've been able to build with my online platform. Doing challenges, accountability is huge. And everything I've learned is from John Goodman's Online Training Academy, and all the awesome coaches, including yourself, John, of what the potential is with this online program that you and I are offering, and how we can help. It's crazy to be able to think that, help people literally around the world. I didn't anticipate that getting into the fitness business, but it's really opened my eyes to the potential, the opportunity, and how much it's just constantly evolving, and how much I'm learning nonstop. So
it's a massive world, and opportunities are kind of endless too. And once you kind of start seeing successes, and a lot of people still are really unaware of what online coaching actually is. Once clients kind of buy in, they recognize they have more freedom than they thought they'd have. I don't know about you. I remember when I was doing it, in-person scheduling sometimes was a nightmare, right? Because you had to balance your schedule with potentially, 5 clients in a row. It can be really challenging. This way, clients are able to work out whenever they want to. They have freedom. We have freedom. We all kind of win because it doesn't restrict us as much. So it's been great to see you grow the business as well. And again, like I said, your content is always great. What I'd love to know, if you're up for sharing it, is what the mindful method actually is.
Yeah, no, great question. I get this a lot. And I think I need to share more about the mindful method. So it's the combination of the mindfulness. So, everything you're doing it with an intent, and combining strength training with yoga, with the stretching, with that mindfulness start to your day, first thing in the morning. And then kind of bringing that all together in all aspects of your life. So not just what goes on in the kitchen, and not just what goes on in the gym. It's setting an intention each and every day, and being aware of how you're showing up for yourself, for your family, for others, in your community, and even at work. So it's combining almost everything we're consuming on a daily basis, and being aware of that, whether it's social media, whether it's, on Netflix, and what you're eating at the end of the day too, your fuel. So it's trying to take a step back, and not be so narrow focused on maybe one aspect, but just kind of looking at the whole picture. And this is what I do on that initial call with potential clients. We call it almost a strategy call, is look at all different aspects of your life. What's your stress like? What's your sleep like? What kind of workout routine are you doing, if any? And how do you eat at the end of the day? Are you eating just a snack? Are you mindful of how you're eating? Or are you actually eating with intention to fuel the body? So the mindful method kind of encompasses all of that, and it's continuously evolving as I'm kind of building and growing my business, and talking about and sharing it with you.
I feel like this concept is more and more important the more we get into kind of like a digital age, fast-paced, go kind of world, because it's very easy to go from wake up to sleep and have no idea kind of how you're showing up. You're just kind of either going through the motions, going through habits, or you're on the go so much where you're not taking that time to stop and be like, simple things of like, am I actually hungry right now, or am I just eating to eat? Or, while you're doing a workout, I don't know if you've been there. I've definitely been there where I'll be doing a workout, but my brain is kind of hyperactive in the background, thinking of what my clients are doing, or what social media posts are going up, or whatever else is happening in life. So I think taking the time to be aware of who you are in the moment, what you're doing, the intent, like you said, the purpose, I think that's overlooked. It's definitely going to make me think more about how I'm showing up in different things, but that's great. And clearly, I mean, you found success with that for your life, because you were forced to kind of take that patience approach. Like, what am I, what can I do now? Slowly building upon it. So helping people kind of slow down in a way, in a good way, to really just be like, okay, well, what does today look like? Who do I want to be today? I think that's very powerful.
Yeah, and I think another point on that, and that I think as coaches like to emphasize, is trying to do one thing at a time. I think we all, myself included, we try to juggle a lot on our plates, and it's like we can't multitask at the end of the day, right? We've got time to do one thing, and one thing well, and let's focus on that, and take our time to do it as best as we can. And then move on to the next thing. So it's, like we've all been there when we've been in workouts thinking about 20 different things, our next social media post, what clients are doing or not doing. But it takes practice, right? Like getting your reps in the gym, it takes practice to wake up, set an intention to start your day with a little bit of mindfulness. So whether it's some deep breathing, meditation, even going for a mindful walk, right? Like that's something I'd love to incorporate and teach clients to incorporate into their days. Maybe it's not first thing in the morning. Maybe it's to break up your day. If you are working from a basement or don't get a chance to get out for fresh air, right? It's get out for that fresh air, get some sun on your skin, and take a few deep breaths without the phone. Let the phone go for once and leave it behind and just kind of notice how you're feeling, right? Like they say that, being bored is a great thing. And that's your chance to be creative, to just, again, notice how you're feeling. So I find that when we're bored, we're typically reaching for something, whether it's food, whether it's, the screens, whether it's the phone, whatever it is. We're not just we've learned to not just sit with how we feel, our emotions, and just letting ourselves be and noticing what comes up. So
100%. I love that. Actually, if I can tell you like a more of a personal thing, next week, I had no calls booked on Tuesday, and I'm like, I'm going to take a day and just block it all off. Cause I've had a really hard time with juggling a lot that's going on, staying away from phones and snacks and stuff. So there's a spa like 20 minutes from the house. There's no phones allowed. I'm going to go there with a book, with a journal, and like I will be unreachable for a very large portion of the day. And I'm very much looking forward to it. It's almost like I'm forcing myself to step out of, my hustle and bustle and just slow down. Yeah, I kind of can't wait. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think we all, especially as online coaches, we need that kind of detox. And like we're getting out and away this weekend up north, and that's my place that I know I can just kind of unwind, let the phone go. Clients know we're away. With it being the long weekend, I encourage clients to get outside and be with nature, and go for that paddleboard, that hike, and do something maybe you normally wouldn't do, again, without your phone. So I think now more so than ever, we need that digital detox from screens.
100%. I want to transition a little bit into, now you said you're focusing more on men who want to lose a little bit of belly fat, get in shape, get stronger, all that good stuff. What led to the transition to that? And then what are the biggest challenges you find with men who are in that position?
Great question. So working in the finance world, I was surrounded by a lot of men who were perhaps not aware of how they were moving, eating, managing stress. And so I just kind of saw and listened and just kind of watched from a bird's eye view of how, all these people were kind of operating at a very high level, a number of these people, but, their health was definitely sacrificed and compromised. And now, funny enough, some of those people are coming to me to kind of help them work on these little habits to go into each and every one of their days. So I was around, the finance world for so long, and it is, primarily dominated by men, unfortunately. And so I got to learn how their habits were, what they were lacking, how they were eating, and myself included. That's how I was operating, drinking, 3 or 4 nights a week, not really following a strength training program, maybe go to the gym once in a while on a quick lunch break, and then not really, and taking sleep for granted. So, all these things that I used to be doing, I've now kind of learned how to reinforce them and make them a priority in my health because of my kind of injury and my recovery, and now being able to coach and work with these people that a lot of them have really been struggling, not just with, excessive weight, but it's their habits, stress, being a huge one. If these people are running, entrepreneurs running their own business, they're juggling 20 different things at all different times while they have their family, and it's just kind of endless, nonstop. So it's teaching them, again, coming back to, let's focus on one thing at a time. What is one thing, John, you think you can nail this week? If it's sleep, if it's hydration, drinking 2 liters of water a day, maybe it's the workouts. Maybe you can handle getting in 2 to 3 workouts a week. Maybe it's just simply moving. So getting, walking 2 30-minute walks a day might be a great place for you to start. So Yeah, really dependent on the person and who I'm working with. I find the weekenditis, I call it, is a big challenge for a lot of people. Sometimes myself included. It's like when you let everything go for the weekend, all those healthy habits go out the window, and you find yourself around a bar, open bar, a buffet, and you're just kind of going to town on drinks and food, and don't really care, which I think is fine once in a while, but I think that's where the mindfulness comes back to it. And something that's come up lately with a number of my clients is like, it's summertime, we're doing some travel. It's like, how do we keep these habits and maintain these habits while we're on the road, right? So it's let's get back to the basics. So moving daily, right? Aim for that, 10,000, I think is just a generic number, but it's a great kind of metric to see if you're actually moving enough in a given day. Drinking water for the most majority of your week and your days is sometimes a very challenging habit for some people I've worked with. Not knowing how much to drink a day, right? Like 2 to 3 liters, depending on how active you are. Eating real whole food. I can't stress this enough. So real whole food, nothing more than 5 ingredients on the back of the package. So your fruits and veggies, and this has come up a lot too, is cutting carbs. We're not cutting carbs. You need carbs. Carbs being veggies, fruits, good carbs, sweet potato, in your diet to give you literally energy at the end of the day. So I think that's a common misconception, either when people are starting my program or people just very uneducated of what and how to eat properly. And then sleep and stress management are kind of also huge and part of that whole equation and pyramid of the hierarchy of health. So I think does that answer your question?
Yeah,
that's kind of where I was going with it.
Yeah, that's solid, man. I think stress management is probably one of the toughest things to work with on people in my experience, because they kind of have to change how they're approaching certain situations, but also like how they live their lives in a way, or taking more time for themselves, which as a busy entrepreneur, a family man, like it can be really tough to even get any like pure alone time. Yes, I'm home alone right now, but I'm working all day. I'm talking to coaches like you on the podcast. I'm talking to other coaches, clients. So the stress management piece with your clients, what are some things that you help them do to manage that?
Great question. So first of all, it's being aware of what's on their plate, what they can handle, and what their capacity is every day. If they can't cook a meal, what is the next best thing that's going to maybe relieve a little bit of stress for cooking a meal for their day, or for their family rather. So maybe it's doing a meal delivery service. Maybe it's doing that little bit of meal prep on a Sunday to kind of save them some time. We always talk about saving us more time and blocking time in your schedule to focus on one specific task. Taking that 5-minute breather, 5 minutes is really nothing at the end of the day, whether it's first thing in the morning, at lunch, at the end of the day, just for yourself, off the phone. I can't stress that enough. Take a break without the phone. Either maybe it's a 20-minute nap you need, maybe it's just going out around the block for a walk, getting some fresh air, focusing on some breathing, starting your day with, I suggest minimum 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, just sitting cross-legged and focus on your breathing. This is something I incorporate into my team calls. We start every team call with some mindfulness. I lead a guided meditation of just breathing, right? Sitting where you are, sitting in your chair, closing your eyes, and just focus on your breath, because sometimes we've been rushing all the way up until that call, and we haven't had a chance literally to stop and take a breath. So, maybe it's only 2 minutes, put your timer on, take that 2-minute time out away from your phone, away from your screen, drink some water. And I think a big one, which is definitely often overlooked, is the bedtime routine. So focusing on good quality sleep. And that's something I love to dig into with clients. It's like, yeah, I'm sleeping maybe 6-7 hours, but I don't feel well rested. It's like, okay, so let's take it back. What time are you going to sleep at? Well, I kind of go to sleep at 10, 11. I'm on my screen, so it's how does it feel to leave your phone in the kitchen? How does it feel to remove maybe a TV from the bedroom, right? Remove all your screens, all your electronics. I think John Goodman puts it, having that old school Casio watch has never worked so well on his wrist, and getting an old school alarm clock, right? If you need that alarm clock to wake up, So being aware of your surroundings in your home so that it's conducive to you to actually sleep, rest, and work on good sleep hygiene. That's a big one I've been working on lately with clients that, again, is taken for granted, right? People aren't feeling well rested when they wake up, likely because they've been on the screen all day up until bedtime. And then it's like, you're suppressing the melatonin, and of course you're wired and you can't relax and fall asleep. So that's a huge habit. If I think if people in general take away anything from this, is like removing screens from the bedroom. And an hour before bed would be awesome, right? There's blue block glasses that are amazing. I've tried. If you have to, you're on the screen right before bed, it will definitely help. So finding ways to get diligent on your sleep, just the same way as you kind of create an awesome program in the gym that's going to work for you. So it's, sleep mask, blackout blinds, dark room, cool room, all those little things that, I've learned over time that's really helped me.
I love it. And I think the thing with sleep too is it's harder to change those habits than to do a new gym routine, right? Gym routines are exciting, fun. Sleep habits or lack thereof are just, some people will sit in front of a TV until they start to doze off and then they're like, oh, okay, it's time for bed. Those nights will be damaging long-term for your health. Not to mention lack of sleep, lack of quality sleep negatively impacts your food choices, your decisions every single day, your energy for the day. So if you're the type of person who has a busy schedule already, you want to start lifting weights, you want to get active, you want to lose some body fat, it definitely does start with a bedtime routine. I can tell you firsthand, the nights when I go to bed with my phone next to me versus when I don't, very different when I wake up in the morning. It's not a good habit to go to sleep with your phone. The phone as an alarm clock as well is another thing I would avoid. Like Mike said, like get an old school $15 alarm clock from Amazon or something. It gets the job done. Put it across the room. If you need help getting up, you'll get up in a second, and you won't have your screen right in front of you at first thing.
Yeah, I think that's another good point you make, is if, when clients start the program, it's like some of them are like, yeah, I want to wake up earlier. And waking up earlier starts with going to bed earlier and having good quality sleep so that you feel well rested the next day. We all have those times when, we get stuck glued to the phone, you fall into the vortex of Netflix, whatever it is. And then you know how you feel the next day when you're wiped out, your energy's zapped, and you're not your best self. So it's cultivating and creating these awesome habits so that you can show up, for yourself, for your family, for you in the gym, for everyone around you in your community, to give it your all, right? Like, I want to give it 100% each and every time I'm in the gym. I know what that takes. I need to be hydrated. I need to eat real good food, and I need to sleep very well the night before to be able to have a killer workout and progress at the same time. I think a big one is people hitting a plateau or not seeing those gains maybe as fast as they wanted. And I always bring it back to how is your sleep? How is your stress, right? These things that are often overlooked, that are not nearly as sexy as that new kind of workout program you're doing. And it's something that I talk about that's not in school at all. They don't teach us this. They don't teach us how to eat properly. They don't teach us how to manage stress or how to sleep properly or how to create a good environment in your home. I kind of learned this in yoga, is just kind of being aware of all your surroundings. Is it helping you, or is it drawing your energy away? Is it kind of overloading the mind, right? So living from a little bit more of a minimalist background and just kind of being aware of all your surroundings. Is it drawing your attention, or is it actually helping you? I guess the Marie Kondo kind of effect there. Yeah. It's great range.
It's funny because literally yesterday, I've been in a state of a bit of like stress, overwhelm, not sleeping well lately. And yesterday I reorganized the basement here a little bit. Today it looks tidied, it looks neat, and my productivity has been so much better already just from that. Because if I look past my computer, it was a mess. There was stuff everywhere. Behind me was all unorganized. I did a few shifts here and there, and all of a sudden my brain feels better. Awesome. Like at cluttered desk, I don't know what you're like. A cluttered desk for me is also a nightmare. I can't get that line of focus. So what you said there makes total sense.
Yeah, I find I need a clean space to focus, to create whatever I'm working on, and allow me the time and the space and the energy to devote to it. So, I think it's more than just being clean. It's being tidy and being decluttered, so that you can focus, right? And finding that space that really feels good for you and helps you kind of grow wherever you're working, or, you're training too, right? Your training environment too is a big one. Is, starting with clients who are training from home, maybe all they have is a set of dumbbells and a yoga mat, and they're staring at the wall, right? So it's like, let's create a little bit of an environment. So maybe it's throwing up like a poster. Maybe it's finding a room with a window in it. Maybe it's adding a few key pieces of equipment that are going to excite them to get into that space and feel good. Maybe it's adding in some music, to create a better environment for yourself. So again, that you look forward to it. I think all of these are overlooked sometimes. And it's like, as coaches, it's like, here's a program, go ahead, give it your best shot and report back to me, in a few days and see how that goes. So it's, I think it's good for us to put ourselves in our client's shoes too. So it's learn what your environment's like. If you're at a gym, great. Your gym is, obviously one of the best options to build your house and build your strength and your body. But if it's not, and like John, I know you and I both offer that flexibility to work with clients, busy moms, busy dads at home. So it's creating a good environment that feels good for you to train it, to work out.
Definitely. And when COVID hit and all I had at home was like a couple of dumbbells and adjustable bench, I was in the summertime, I was outside. I was doing all my workouts in the backyard. I was like, this is awesome. I'm getting the tan, I'm getting the sunlight. Yeah. And it just changed like what was a really, really negative situation at the time into something where like, I'm actually looking forward to doing this, as odd as it sounds, because I've always been like that gym guy, never a home workout kind of guy. So yeah, little things like that, they can change. And that there's the power of the sun again, that you talked about earlier. It can change wonders for those of us living in Ontario. Enjoy the next couple of months, because we know what the winters are going to be like. So for those that don't have to go through the winters like we do, you kind of have it lucky in that aspect. Let's put it that way. One of our internet's lagged out there.
Yeah, I lost you there.
That's all right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. At this time, Mike, do you have, or I'd love to hear, because you've dropped a ton of really good knowledge. I'd love to ask for one golden nugget from you for the audience.
Yeah, great question. I think no matter where you're at in your health and fitness journey, is taking a step back to realize and understand where you are today, and really work on and dig deep on that one thing you'd like to focus on. So I think as coaches, we often hear, I used to lift this much weight. I used to look like that. I, used to fit into that dress or, that jacket. And it's like, that's great. That's really great that you were there, but where are you today? Where are you today right now? This comes and tunes right into the mindfulness of, this is you right now. This is what everything you're dealing with. And let's try to pick one thing and really hone in on it. If it's your sleep, if it's your nutrition, if it's your strength training, dial that in and go hard at that one specific focus and just kind of watch and see how the progress kind of comes about.
Beautiful. No multitasking over here. Focus where you're at. Right. Mike, shameless plug time of the podcast. Where can everyone find you, my man?
Coach Mike Levine on Instagram. mindfulmethodcoach.com is my website. Active on Instagram, same as TikTok. Coach M Levine on TikTok. And that's where you can find me, Mindful Method.
Perfect. I will link all that in the show notes. Mike, thanks so much again for taking the time, man. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
Awesome. Thanks, John. It's great to be here and chat with you.
Awesome, man. Take care.